Hello 3DFers, and welcome to the video that talks about the turn-in procedure for week 2. And this way you can just double check everything that you've done to make sure to get the best possible grade. So first let's take a quick look at what we're looking for. And if you take a look at this turn-in here, you can see I've got 5 objects in here, and they're all modeled. There's no blockouts anymore. Everything is made of a single piece of geometry if it is a single object. The bottle stopper is 1 piece of glass. Could be 2, but that would be the most. Again, candlestick, 1 piece, could be 2, but that's the extent of that. Glass bottle, all glass, that's 1 material, 1 object. The cap, another material, another object. So again, we're into the build it like it's built for week 2. And again, something I want to make sure that you guys have is there are layers for the objects. Now ideally I'd like there to be a layer for each object you've built. And again, we'll talk about the creation of layers if need be, but point being, ideally there's a layer for each one. The fact that there's a display layer in there, that's the one that we made, so that does not count. You have to make one for your stuff too, you silly goose. So make sure you do that. So let's take a look at what we're going to be doing for this activity. And I'm going to go to the LMS so we can see. Here's our week 2 assignment. And we have 2 options. We can model 5 objects from the level 1 folder, so 5 things in total, or we can model 3 objects from the level 1 folder and 1 object from the level 2 folder. So that would give you a total of 4 objects. So if you build something that's a little bit harder, you don't have to build as many. I do recommend trying to build a level 2 because that's what's really going to start pushing you to modeling better. But again, you have the choice between the 2. Again, all things hold true as we do before. Make sure we're setting our projects, make sure we're modeling those assets using the multi-cut tool, the extrude tool, and insert edge loop tool, and we're not just sort of shoving shapes together. And again, with this, once we're all done, we're going to have a scene file here that everything's going to be imported into, just like we did last week. So we want to make sure things are the right size, and we want to place them on the pillars, each of the objects. Again, if you did all level 1, there would be 5 of them. If you did 3 level 1s and 1 level 2, again, you would be looking at 4 models in total. We have the display scene for you to download. You can use the one you had before, but if you need to download it again, it's there. I've also included the level 1 and level 2 asset folder just in case you do not have that anymore or need to download it again for whatever reason. And of course a copy of the self-grade document, and that's attached to this assignment, so you can download and see that as well. Now let's take a quick look at that self-grade document and see what we're looking at. So when you first open it, of course it's set for week 1, and this is our first turn-in we already did, so we want to go to week 2, and now we are on week 2's turn-in. And you'll see there's no additional things we have to build, so it's just modeling this week, so a little bit less to worry about. Now, the things that we're looking for are pretty much the same with some additions. Now, what you'll notice is that what we're looking for in this turn-in is largely what we were looking for with sort of the extra little bit we had to do last week. So when we looked at this part down here, that's mostly the things that we're looking for into week 2, with a couple of other added elements. Now, in terms of the things, let's go through them and make sure that you've done everything you need to do. Obviously, we need to import everything into one scene file, and then once all those things are in there, then we got to make sure that we've done these things to the objects for turn-in. So again, first we're looking at silhouette, and again, this should be old hat for you because silhouette is the idea that when we see the objects in their shaded shadow mode, when you press 7 on your keyboard, it kind of shows your objects with no light. You can identify them for what they are just by looking at their shadowy silhouette. So obviously I can tell what each of these things are, so that would be doing a good job with silhouette. I'll press 5 to bring everything back. And again, I come over here and check off, yes, the silhouettes are good, and that gives me 17 points. Next, we get into form. So again, form is 3D or depth detail. So elements like the fact that this candlestick is hollow and I could actually get a candle in it, that's definitely a depth detail that's important in terms of that object. The fact that this bottle, you can see down into it a little bit in the lip here. Again, openings that you can see into should be there. That's going to give us an idea of those 3D details. And if we go to these objects again, I'm starting to see, oh yeah, there's that little crease in the wing of the ladybug. So yeah, I've got that in there. So again, 3D details, depth-related elements, surface details. That's what form is. So I want to make sure I did that. Asset built-in parts. Again, I touched on this before. We're going with build it like it's built. So look for the materials it's made of and make sure that you have separated the pieces appropriately. So for example, again, this bottle is basically a glass bottle with a lightweight metal cap. So those are the two pieces. You'll notice that I didn't put any additional pieces in there. So that is the way that thing should be built. The ladybug, which is actually a big squirt bottle, water gun kind of thing, it's a little squirter, that should be one piece of geometry because that's how the actual object is made, one piece of rubber. There's some interesting detail going on there, but that's still one object. Again, the idea of the pepper grinder, this part is wood, this part is metal, and it turns. You have to be able to hold this piece and turn that as well. So all these little pieces are separate. You know, this screws into the top, and that's what holds this piece on. So again, the idea being, let's make sure we're building it like it's built. So that's what I'm talking about when I say the right number of parts. So again, make sure you've modeled it with the right number of parts. Edge looping and topology, what we're looking for there. And you can see I've already got half of my grade locked up. In terms of edge looping and topology, what we're looking for is the fact that the geometry actually looks very neat and clean, very spaced decently in terms of the edge flow on the geometry. And an example of bad edge flow or topology would be, you know, if we're looking at stuff where we're seeing some bad torsion and tension in the geometry, you know, things, you know, these shading errors are usually a good indication that you've done something that is leading to bad topology or bad math associated with the geometry. And again, if we saw, you know, this kind of thing going on, that's not such great topology in edge looping. So you can kind of see the difference between neat and clean looking edge looping and topology and the stuff that is, again, a little bit messier, less efficient, and can lead to lighting issues. So edge looping and topology, again, an important thing we're always working on. So make sure we got that going on. Layers. As I said before, we want to make sure that we've got layers for our objects. Now, if you should happen to import your objects into your scene and they don't have a layer, and because they should when you first built the thing, but you can make a layer if you need to, and it's super easy. Let's say, for example, I didn't have a layer for the bottle stopper. There is one, but let's pretend I don't have one. Well, I would just make sure I've got the channel box open, and I would go to the layer section of the channel box here, and I'd go to Layers, Create Empty Layer. And that's going to make a brand new layer. And it's going to be right up at the top. And of course I have to name the layer, and it has to be something that makes sense. So if I double click on it with my left mouse button, I have the opportunity to name the layer, and I do already have a bottle stopper layer, so I have to call it something else. I'm going to call it stopper layer, because Maya will not allow you to have two objects with exactly the same name. So now that's the stopper layer. And in order to put this object on that layer, first I have to make sure the layer is selected, and you select that with the left mouse button. I select the layer, and then I can, again, I want this object to be on it, so I select it, and with the right mouse button held down, Add Selected Objects pops up from that little menu set, so I add it. So now, when I click the little V on this layer, the object shows and hides itself. So I know that's a working layer for that object. So make sure you've got a layer, at least one layer for each of the things that you've built, however many you built, 5 or 4. So again, I'm going to get in there and give myself a check for having done the layers. Asset named. Now, the big deal here is when it comes to naming the asset, what I'm talking about is naming the actual objects. And it doesn't have anything to do with the name of the file whatsoever. Because when you're building these things, they're made out of polygon primitives, cubes and cylinders. But I don't want these objects to be called pcube1 and pcube10 and pcylinder19. These are objects, and I need to know what their names are, particularly because if I'm looking for them in the outliner, I want to make sure I've got names that I can find. Excuse me. So what you want to do is make sure that you select your geometry and name it. So again, make sure the channel box is open. And let's say that this was not named properly. Let's say it was P cube 17, whatever. That's what it's called. So that's not what that is. That is the glass bottle. So what I want to make sure I do is select the object so that its name populates in the channel box, and then I'm going to click with the left mouse button in this field, and I'm going to call it glass bottle, and then hit enter. So now every time I select that, it says glass bottle. And if I open up the outliner, it'll say glass bottle. So it's been named properly. So make sure that every piece of geometry has a name, and each piece, again, it's got to have a name. There are no pieces left at their default name, whatever the heck geometry you use to build it. So make sure you name everything, and that's what asset named means. And if you created a group node for something, make sure you name the group node. And again, if you select an object and you use the up arrow on your keyboard, you will get to the group node for that object. And it shouldn't be called group 7 or group 6. Again, click in the field and name it. Bottle group, anything like that. Just change it from what it was. So make sure that you've named all of those things, and again, that will satisfy the did you name everything. And again, if you've missed it on one of them, it's the same as missing it on all of them. So make sure you check all of your objects, all of your pieces. So did I name all of the pieces? Yes, I did. And you can see my grade is getting much, much better. Now, presentation mode. We've talked about this before. The idea of presentation mode is the idea that when this file is opened by someone else, they can literally see immediately what it is they're supposed to be looking at. And it opens very quickly. So, again, you just have to select the objects and then press Shift F on your keyboard. And that basically Shift F is center in all 4 views. And what that will do is allow you to center the objects in all 4 views so that no matter what view you're in, you can still see the objects clearly. And you may want to have your display layer selected, make it so that the pillars are all visible as well. So make sure you got all those guys in there. Again, we want to make sure we're in wireframe in all 4 of our views. So we'll go to each one and press 4 and make sure we're in there. For some reason this window isn't responding right this second, but that's okay. Again, make sure you press 4. And then in terms of your presentation mode, again, you want to make sure that you don't have any strange like image planes in there. So let's say, for example, I'm gonna delete this object. I'm gonna grab this guy right here, and again, for reasons I don't know, my perspective window is not responding to me at all. It's really very interesting, but I think I just need to restart Maya. But in terms of the file, let's just say I'm bringing an object in. So I'm going to try to bring something in that I'm pretty sure has a image plane associated with it. So I'm just going to go to a file that I know will give me a problem so that I can show you the issue that I would like you to avoid. Let me bring in my Peppermill. Where are you, Peppermill? There you are. I think this one has an image plane. Let me see. All right, great. So here's my Peppermill, and you can see it's got this image plane associated with it, right? And, again, when you're saving your individual files, good idea that you get rid of the image planes when you save it as its individual file. But if when you bring it into the display scene, the image plane is still there, you need to get rid of that, even if there's not a picture in there. The picture is also not good, but that little pink box, also not good. You don't want that to be in there. Once you're done with modeling, you don't need the image planes anymore. So what you want to do is go to Edit, delete all by type, and then choose image planes. And what that's going to do is remove all of the image planes from everywhere within your scene. So again, if anything comes in with an image plane, get rid of it and make sure you don't have those in the scene you're turning in. And of course, if your object is the wrong size, you want to, of course, make that the correct size by scaling it, and you can use your reference images to determine how big that thing is supposed to be. But I know this one's the right size, so I'm just going to make this one the same size as that one. And then I should be fine. But point being, make sure that your images or your objects are the correct size, and they are all placed within the scene properly, and make sure that when you bring them in there, there are no image planes with them anymore. So you want to make sure that they are not there we go. There's a perspective view that's working for me. And I'm just going to switch this one to top. And then, now that window just doesn't want to do it right no matter what I do with it. Okay. So again, the idea here, all 4 views are in wireframe. Again, this one is being fussy with me. And then I'm going to go back to my perspective view. And then when I save my file, I'm going to be in this view. And let me go back to my self-grade. And again, I've got that presentation. It's in wireframe. The image planes are deleted. Yay. And then the last little bit is the name. And I cannot stress how important it is. It's almost a letter grade here. So, let's get those easy points. Don't miss those. So again, if you go back to FSO, you'll see that I actually tell you exactly what to call it. So, and this was the same as last week. So make sure you're following the instructions. So of course, don't put my name on it, but excuse me, gold _ Steve _ week2 _ 3df _ and this is 1706 for this particular month. So it is the 6th month. We are in June, so 17, the year 2017, and 06, the 6th month. So make sure you get that right. And again, when you save the file, make sure if the file you're starting with is in MB, then the file you save should be in MB also. So you go to File, Save Scene As, and here's where you can change it from ASCII to binary to get whichever one you need. Again, this ends in MB, therefore it is in MB, so I switch it to that. And of course, the name I want to give it is gold _ Steve _ week2, capital W, _ 3df, all caps, 1706. And then you hit save. So once you've got that file saved, then of course you have to make a folder. So make sure it says Finder here, and with the right mouse button you can choose New Folder and click in that field. And again, it's going to have the same name as the file, gold _ Steve _ week2 _ 3df _ 1706. And then you're going to put your Maya file in there with all the pillars and everything that you just saved. And then go ahead and save this self-grade as well and put that in there. Again, I've named my file properly. I should get a 100. File, Save As, and again I'm going to save this the same thing. Gold _ Steve _ week2 _ 1706. And because this is an Excel document, it won't matter that it is the same name as the Maya file. So when I save that, I'm going to put that document in the folder I created. I'm going to put my Maya file in the folder I created, and then select it, right mouse button, compress. And then when I get that file, this is what I'm going to upload to FSL. All right, so make sure you're following that document or this video. Do all the things that are in there, and you're going to do great. Okay, so just make sure, again, follow those directions, and you're going to do terrific. If you have any questions, that's the stuff we're teaching, so come see us. Come to the Google Hangout, ask questions in class or ask questions in lab. Alrighty, good luck, and let's have a good turn-in.